What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to you about Beyond Meat. I want to give you a very quick overview of what really happened, only because I see a lot of people on social media spreading some incorrect information. So I just wanted to kind of pop on, go over some basic stuff and everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So Beyond Meat did have a pretty nice spike today to $1.42. Regrettably, it did get dragged down with much of the greater market, closed 1.61% in the red, and then you had about 101 million shares being traded. So when it came down to today, the market was digesting a couple of things. One was data, so we had PCE and also Michigan consumer sentiment. Overall, kind of came in somewhat flat, so nothing really crazy, but it didn't really move at the same time, this needle. So going into this upcoming week, there is now a 87.2% likelihood of a 25 basis point cut. If we do get that next week, then you'll kind of see a big surge in a lot of growth stocks and speculative stocks such as Beyond Meat. And so again, that could be enough to break it past some key resistance levels. But again, the whole reason why I did this video is because I see a lot of individuals on social media saying that institutions were selling. And yes, as much as I like to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly, so if institutions were legitimately selling, I would tell you. But at the same time, I like to give correct information. So for those of you that have tuned into a lot of my Beyond Meat videos, algorithmic trading has been a huge force. So of that 101 million shares being traded, a lot of which were linked to algos. And you can see that based on this briefly. So the flow at the very bottom right shows the flow, and you see a lot of algorithmic trading. So again, that's where most of the volume did come from. But despite that though, you actually did see some institutions buying. So these are all the transactions that did occur on the secondary market above $100,000. You had one sell, that's for $125,000. Everything else was a buy. So again, this is where what you see on social media isn't actually the full truth. Even when it comes down to shorts, they were taking advantage and they did return. By the end of the day, they returned 1.58 million shares. 21.96% of the free floats being shorted works to be 96.6 million shares overall being shorted. So it's interesting to see shorts return that much. One thing as well to take note of though, if we look at this, so the intraday, the teal line, they actually were the cause why this spiked. So a couple institutions or shorts must have returned their positions. That prompted AI signaled some abnormal activity, and then you had everything just rocket higher. That's why I've mentioned in the past, it doesn't actually take all that much to move a stock. You just need roughly about 2 or 3 different maybe at the same time transactions, all buys, and then that tricks AI to start buying. This is why even last time it did have a very nice spike. I did a video and I went over exactly what caused this. So way back in right over here on the on December the 1st, you had a nice spike roughly around noon. At that time, there was 3 consecutive buy orders, large buy orders, and that was enough to cause this spike. So at the end of the day, like I said, it doesn't really take all that much to really move a stock. There wasn't really that much in news or any speculative stuff. A lot of people bringing up how there is very limited amount of shares. So through IBKR, it does indicate about 75,000 shares. You can see that there was some transactions that was done after hours, because it went from 5,000 available to 10 to 30, 35, 75. And so that goes up because institutions buy it. Institutions buy it sometimes just for the purposes of lending out stock. So again, I just wanted to kind of explain some of that. But when it comes to looking at the options, we did see 3.7 million in calls, 2.1 in puts. And pretty much the second half of the day, it just absolutely died. The volume just went down like crazy. 54% of all the options being done though today were bearish in nature, but there is still a certain level of optimism, especially going into next week. It looks like $2 and above is kind of on the table, at least from the bull standpoint. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub $1. And one thing as well I just want to bring up, there was 8,000 purchased at the $4 strike price. So someone put out some lotto plays. So someone, again, is feeling like next week there will be a squeeze. Stay tuned for my video over the weekend where I go over some expectations for this upcoming week. So I'll be doing one for Beyond Meat and also Open Door on this channel. So make sure you guys subscribe if you haven't already. But a couple key levels to watch for with it closing at 122, smack dab in the middle between this R1 and the pivot. So $1.12 is a strong support. It wasn't touched today whatsoever, so that's always a positive thing. And then $1.40 is that next strong target / resistance, and it did have a high of $1.42. So it is fair to assume that is a very strong resistance. So again, for those of you that are swing traders, day traders, just kind of watch out for that one. So again, if it is able to get above that $1.40, then $1.58 and $1.87 is potentially on the table. Quickly showing you this. So going into, again, by the end of the week, it did close above the 10-day moving average. So it does show that some momentum is actually building, and potentially if we actually do touch early on next week, that 50-day moving average, this is where some things could get very, very real very fast. There hasn't been any new analyst ratings or anything like that, so it was kind of at the mercy of the broader market. But let me know your general thoughts on Beyond Meat. Did you take advantage? Did you buy? Did you sell? What have you been doing with Beyond Meat? And then one final thing, I just launched this roughly around a couple of weeks ago, a new stacked account. So if you are looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, pop over here, take a look, put out some absolute bangers. So I put a new tier, $15 a month, and I put out some solid swing trades. One that just hit over the last couple of trading days was Path, ticker PATH. This one has been a absolute beast. Went from roughly around 15 to 1868. That's where it did close. And as well, recently I did signal Beyond Meat as a solid buy when it was at 65 cents to $6. So a lot of bangers like that. So worthwhile to kind of take a look at that, especially over the weekend. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.